Welcome to the Kindness Podcast Live. I'm Nicole Phillips. Thank you for joining me today. There is a saying that goes, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think about that when it comes to the world's wealth and who is holding on to the purse, who has the money. And isn't it great when that money can go into the hands of people who really have compassionate hearts and want to create lasting change? Wouldn't that be beautiful if all the money were filed into people like that? I have someone today that I want to introduce you to. Her name is Twila True, and she is an ultra successful entrepreneur. Her business has totaled more than $1 billion. Yes, that is true. But honestly, it is the things that she's doing running alongside of her business that really captivated me when I heard her story. So let's bring Twila in here. Hi, Twila. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing awesome. Has anyone ever told you that your life could be a movie?
Oh, thank you. No, I haven't thought about that.
Great. I'm giving you one more thing to add to your plate.
Right? Too busy living it.
Exactly. Good for you. Speaking of your life, would you kind of walk us through the story, the history that is you, because it started from the time that you were just a baby.
Yes. So just as a baby or just as a child, you don't know demographics, you don't understand gender, those things are taught or, exampled. And so for me, fortunately, I didn't have any bad examples of, different races or I was born into I'm a member of the Lakota Sioux tribe. And so that's in Pine Ridge, poorest place in the country, not the poorest reservation, the poorest place in the country.
That's in South Dakota.
That's in South Dakota, lower left corner, mostly raised at a very young age by my grandmother, who was, very traditional Lakota woman. And in there, I didn't understand what I didn't have. All I understood was what I did have. So although today I talk about it's the poorest place in the nation, that's not what I grew up with. I grew up with culture and tribe and family and sisters and brothers and the idea that whatever thoughts and desires you put forward for accomplishments, that's what you have the opportunity to become.
That's beautiful. And so when did you end up leaving the Pine Ridge Reservation?
I'm not too sure. I was adopted. What I do know is I was adopted at a later age. You look at past pictures and you start to put things together. There's things in your family, in my family tree that, make people uncomfortable to talk about. And so you spend your younger years living life. You spend your middle years trying to figure it out. And then at some point, it just doesn't matter. And you're thankful for the things you do know and the things that you can take with you and take charge of your own life. So at a very young age, what I could piece together was, I know I'm a member of the Lakota Sioux tribe. I know that when I land there for my philanthropic efforts, something vibrates within inside of me of love and deepness and a belonging. But then at a very young, my next stage, maybe around 3 to 5, somewhere in there, I was adopted by a man who is Mexican and lives in El Monte, California. The most humblest, kindest guy, a mechanic, Vietnam veteran. And what he taught me, he wasn't my father because he had to be. He was my father because I needed one. And he taught me he taught me my value and how a man treats a woman.
I want to hop into that for a little bit because my daughter has a close relationship with her father, my husband, and I had a great relationship with my dad growing up. And I feel like there is something there, that need for a young woman to experience a male mentor who is kind. Do you agree with that?
100%. I mean, whatever he was the example. I knew nothing else. So by the time I dated, a guy opened the door for me, or that was my bar. He spoke a certain way. I'll tell you a story. I remember my father coming home. I'm coming home from high school. He's a Vietnam veteran, swore like a sailor. It's the weekend. He's got his friends and they're watching some boxing match. I mean, the amount of cursing and, all of the smoking that's going on, until the moment I walk in the room. He stands up, they all stand up, stop the swearing, hide the cigarettes. Hello, Twila. Hi, Twila, as I keep walking by. And he, reaches over and kind of taps one guy who didn't stand up. That guy stands up. I walk out of the room. I'm smiling. I know what's going on. I go to the other side of the room and walk out, and then I can hear them back at it. But, it's a small example of that's what I understood. The amount of respect that he gave me was just something I was brought up with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you talk about the respect he gave you, but I'm guessing I'm pulling here a little bit, but you mentioned he was a mechanic. You have done incredibly well financially. Is that because he did incredibly well financially and gave that to you, or is that because he gave you the self-confidence to be able to do that?
The Pine Ridge, when I would go back to it, I would see extreme poverty. Okay. So I knew I originally come from there, and I just didn't want to end up that poor. And then living in El Monte, and my father, was the best blue collar life that you could have. Right? We had one TV, we had 2 cars, all the things that you need, but home was clean. We were very well loved and provided for. But, what I did see at that time is I saw really only 2 opportunities. One was that you wait and the government will provide. Or as a female, you make sure you marry right, so that way that is how you end up. Because you go to the store and you're offered toys that are cooking and ironing and sewing kits. You come home and you see people waiting for the government check. You have girlfriends, and all they're talking about through high school or older teenage years is what kind of job he has, and he. And I've seen some of those not work out. And so all I wanted was, I didn't really aspire for financial greatness. I'm very lucky today. I just aspired to have financial independence.
Well, and you succeeded with that. And then at some point, were you of a giving nature all the way along, or at some point did you say, okay, I have really been able to get to this point with the help of others, and now I want to give back? What was your tipping point for being really, really kind financially?
2 things. The whole time along the way, I was always touched or helped by somebody. So whether it was my grandmother, my father, an English teacher in high school who, gave me the love of reading and poetry, a tennis coach that, just took the time, first time family offices who gave me positions just because I worked so hard. So all along the way, it would have never happened had I never given anything, but just given a little bit of knowledge, assistance, advice. So that stuck with me. The second thing is there's just a yin and yang, I feel, about the world. And so I don't enjoy doing anything that doesn't give. I really, really enjoy nothing more. For me to win, for me to get something, and you get an article in a magazine, woo, yay, yay for you. But when you're sitting in the audience, or you're sitting, back in a corner, and you've helped someone get to some place, and you see them celebrate, if you can experience that, there's no higher feeling, than that. And then the strange things about the world is it just seems to me that when you do those things, they do come back. And so I can only tell you that from my personal experience, that's sort of, the way it's happened for me.
I see you doing that both in philanthropy and in business. And in business, I mean, so you have 1500 Sound Academy. This is one of your ventures. And that is a school, right? Where you're bringing people in. I know that you've had keynote speakers like Bruno Mars and Snoop Dogg, like you just had me at Snoop Dogg, right? But the point of that is a college to raise up other people, other artists.
So I own a family office, and what that merely means is we manage our own capital. We were successful enough to have successful companies, and when you have that, then you have capital to manage, and you manage your capital as an investment company, as a family investment company. So we have multiple companies. When I started out, you get there, you have a successful company, great, and now you're managing your money. Then you go and you deal with companies, businesses, joint ventures, partnerships, and many times along the ladder. In fact, most of the times you're working with who you have to work with because you're climbing ladders, you're, trying to achieve your goals. So you work with who you have to. I'm fortunate today to where I don't have to work with anybody I don't want to. I can choose my partners. And so in that vein, a few years ago, there's two gentlemen I met, Rance Dobson and James Fauntleroy. Someone told me, you've got to go meet these guys. They're in Inglewood. So I said, okay. So I go over, I meet them. They're in a humble little studio in the middle of Inglewood, but what they had accomplished was incredible. They've been on the top 20 charts for the last 15 years. They write or produce. So people like Jay-Z, they wrote or produced the last 3 albums for Bruno Mars, Justin Timberlake. So, just to drop names, Sam Smith, Adele, Rihanna, on and on. That was fantastic all by itself. Where they were located was the next step for me, where, okay, this is just something that speaks to me. It's anything, any place. It doesn't have to be specific to my culture or my gender or my demographic. There are many types of people. There are many cultures where we all need assistance because we've sort of missed a library of knowledge that maybe other demographics have had the opportunity to have, or maybe we're a gender that hasn't had someone in front of them to be an example. So this fit that box for me. The next thing is the way they are and the type of humans that they are. I mean, we've worked together and it's just been bliss because it is as your show is. We really live that. And it's not saying I'm kind every day when I live my normal life. How about when it's hard to be kind?
Yeah.
How about when you've got real choices to make? How about when greed and envy and all of these things can you be kind then? Can you make the right moves then? And I kind of follow that thought process. So do they. And the world has just been open to us.
That is amazing. And so COVID kind of shut you down. Are you back up and running with the 1500 Sound Academy?
COVID shut us down as far as construction. We have new studios being built in Inglewood, about 25,000 square feet, live room, green room, studios, academy. Construction's back up. The academy side, where we now teach certificates. We have certificates, and it's music production, songwriting, publishing, how to act in a room. COVID hit, and so we had to go from brick and mortar to really an online and asynchronous model. it couldn't have helped us more, because you see something, and maybe it speaks to us who have to. Life is a pivot, right? You're always going to have something. I mean, that's the only thing you can count on.
No
So
kidding.
it's going to happen. It's just, can you say, okay, pivot with a smile and lean in hard.
What a cool concept to be able to have these places where people can come and learn and alongside people who are ultra successful already. So that, I love that. That's really neat. And so that shows to me great kindness on the business front. Going back to the philanthropic front, talk about Pine Ridge, because you said that you feel that there's the little buzzing, inside of you, that the awakening inside of you when you are there. What has been on your heart to do to help the people of your tribe?
I'll never, you are never not Native. You are never not alone. You always feel every day in the way you act, the way you speak, the way you treat others, the way you look at life. I am a Lakota. And so there is just a belonging, and even a sense of yearning to make sure that I'm never too far. They're always in my thoughts, and almost anything all of my successes that I've been fortunate to have, it's because they pray for me. They make sure that they have all the right thoughts. And so in a original tribal setting, what you had is you look at each other as we're all related. We're all related. It doesn't matter if you're my mother or a friend's daughter. We're all related. And some people work in the tribe. Some people help others. Everybody sort of has a different opportunity in which to contribute to the tribe. And some was really to go out and hunt or gather and bring back opportunity from the outside world back to the tribe. And I almost feel like that. I feel like I've been fortunate enough to sort of understand both worlds. I can go back there and I understand the Native world, and then I can come out back into a corporate world, a very institutional world, and I can dress and speak and do all the things that are appropriate for that room, and I'm able to breach or speak both, and then help work with both.
Yeah, I love that visualization of you kind of being a hunter and gatherer. Like the fierceness of that is just, it's beautiful. So you have the True Sioux Hope Foundation that really works to empower. In what way does it empower members of the Lakota tribe?
We help the two areas that can't help themselves, the very, very young and the very, very old. So unfortunately, the Pine Ridge Reservation has the highest infant mortality rate. So this is in the Western Hemisphere. So it's not in South Dakota. It's not in the US. They have more children dying 0 to 3 in the Western Hemisphere, right there in that spot. So it's things that from fetal vitamins to dry milk, just, many of the basics that will help them live past 3. Then it's the elderly. It's very cold there. So we work with teenage groups who will find wood, deliver wood to the most susceptible elderly during the winter so that they can burn wood. We're talking about just some basic fundamentals so that they don't freeze during the winter. And then a long-term plan to that is really education. So we work with different schools. We sometimes take special people that have the opportunity to have a higher education. We have 2 that we're putting through ASU currently. And so those are the long-term change will come from education.
Okay. ASU, that's Arizona State. You're through a partnership with the colleges. Okay. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I've got two questions left for you. Here's the first one. What can we, all of us everywhere in the world, do? What is it that what is the call to action that you would give people, whether it's for the Lakota tribe or just anyone?
I think for the Lakota tribe, you can always check out True Sioux Hope and see some of the very simple things, high impact, low cost, donation, things like that can happen there. Remember that. Remember how they think of things and how they approach things. I think that we believe that we have some things that ways of thinking and ways of being that could be a large contributor to how maybe a lot of people think, and it can contribute. I would say as people, probably one of the largest on my mind all the time is women and their opportunity in the corporate world. We have a long, long way to go. And whether we can be that example, lend a hand, give advice, share the knowledge, I think that that's one of the other things that's high on my mind.
I always think it's really fun to be able to share influence. Like we all have this sphere of influence, and yours is going to look different than mine. But when somebody kind of wanders in and needs a connection, it's really, really fun to be that connector.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that way too. Before I let you go, do you have a favorite story of kindness? Just something that stands out, a time maybe in which you were kind and it just felt so precious, or a time when someone was kind to you?
Sure. I would say an act of kindness would be one time a tribal member asked me to to do something, didn't have to be in a big way, but to give or help someone for other people. And they could never know that the assistance came from me. That was such an act, because one, to do it, but then to shed because what you want is the pat on the back. You want the glory of, look what I did. I would say that was a fantastic teaching that someone gave me that I still practice today. And to have that smile over in the corner without anyone knowing that I did it, including the person I gave to, it's a fun practice. The act of kindness that someone gave to me, I honestly have so many, but I would say the largest would be probably my father and me between jobs, hustling and learning and working a midnight shift. My car broke down. He came and got it. Stayed up. I went to sleep. Woke up, running out to the garage to see if I could make it. He had been up all night till 6 a.m. Finished repairing my car just so that I could leave on time for work.
What a sweet man. Oh, and he raised a remarkable daughter, Twila True. Thank you so much for talking with us today. And so for people who want to find you, I know you have twilatruecollaborations.com.
Mm-hmm.
Where else you want people to connect with you?
Twila True Collaborations. I know that I have my Instagram, which I'm not on very often, but I'm starting to check DMs, direct mail. So
awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Twila. I appreciate you talking with us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And thank you for tuning in to the Kindness Podcast Live. I hope you feel inspired by Twila's words to go out and be kind. Have a great day.